I found out my father paid my pregnant girlfriend $250,000 to disappear and then told. 10 years ago, I was a 22-year-old college senior, dating my girlfriend Olivia for almost 3 years. We were young, but we were in love and making plans for our future together. Then, Olivia got pregnant. It wasn't planned, but after the initial shock wore off, we were excited. We told our families, started preparing, and even picked out names. My father, however, was furious. He had always been controlling, with specific expectations for my life that didn't include becoming a father at 22. He demanded Olivia get an abortion, and when we refused, he threatened to cut me off financially. No more tuition, no job at the family business after graduation, nothing. I told him we would manage on our own. I would finish my degree, find work somewhere else, and we would make it work. Looking back, I was naively optimistic, but I was determined to stand by Olivia and our baby. Then, when Olivia was about 6 months pregnant, I came home from class one day to find our apartment empty. Her clothes were gone, her toiletries missing, even the ultrasound pictures we had pinned to the refrigerator had disappeared. There was just a note on the kitchen counter. "I can't do this anymore. Please don't try to find me." I was devastated. I called her phone repeatedly, but it was disconnected. I reached out to her friends, but they claimed they didn't know where she had gone. I even drove to her parents' house 2 hours away, but they refused to see me, only shouting through the door that I had done enough damage. For weeks, I searched for her. I missed classes, barely slept, and lost weight from the stress. My father's attitude changed completely during this time. He was suddenly supportive, telling me she obviously wasn't the right girl if she could abandon me like this, and that I was better off focusing on finishing my degree and moving forward with my life. Then, about 3 months after Olivia disappeared, I received a call from her mother. Her voice was cold, filled with hatred. She told me Olivia had died in childbirth, and the baby, our daughter, had died with her. She blamed me for not being there, for driving Olivia away, and forbade me from attending the funeral. The call ended with her telling me she never wanted to hear from me again. I collapsed. The guilt was overwhelming. If I had been a better partner, if I had made Olivia feel more secure, if I had somehow protected her from my father's hostility, maybe she would have stayed. Maybe she and our daughter would still be alive. My father found me in that state, drunk and despondent. He took control of the situation, telling me there was nothing I could have done, that sometimes tragic things happen, and that the best way to honor Olivia's memory was to make something of my life. He convinced me to return to school, finish my degree, and join the family business as planned. For the next decade, that's exactly what I did. I buried myself in work, avoided serious relationships, and tried to numb the pain and guilt I carried. Every year on what would have been my daughter's birthday, I would visit a small memorial I had created in a local park, just a bench with a simple plaque dedicated to O and L, forever loved. My father never mentioned Olivia or the baby again. It was as if that chapter of my life had been erased, existing only in my private grief. Whenever I brought them up, he would quickly change the subject, telling me it wasn't healthy to dwell on the past. Then, 10 months ago, everything changed. I was at a conference in a city about 3 hours from home. After the day's events, I went to a restaurant near my hotel for dinner. As I was waiting for my food, I noticed a woman across the room who looked strikingly familiar. It took me a moment to place her, but then I realized it was Olivia's younger sister, Emily. I hadn't seen Emily since before Olivia disappeared. She had been a teenager then, but there was no mistaking her. I hesitated, unsure if I should approach her. Would she even want to speak to me? Would she blame me for her sister's death like their mother did? But something compelled me to try. As I approached her table, she looked up and recognition dawned on her face. She didn't seem angry or disgusted, just shocked. I asked if I could sit down, and to my surprise, she nodded. Our conversation started awkwardly. I expressed my condolences for Olivia, told her how often I thought about her and the baby. Emily looked confused, then suspicious. "What are you talking about?" she asked. "Olivia isn't dead." The world seemed to stop. I couldn't process what she was saying. Emily explained that not only was Olivia alive, but so was my daughter, a 9-year-old girl named Lily, who lived with Olivia in that very city. I must have looked like I was having a breakdown, because Emily quickly ushered me out of the restaurant to a quiet park nearby. There, she told me everything. Olivia had never intended to leave me. My father had approached her privately, offering her $250,000 to disappear, enough money to start a new life somewhere else and provide for the baby. He told her I knew about the arrangement and had agreed it was for the best, that I wasn't ready to be a father and wanted to focus on my career. Olivia didn't believe him at first, but he showed her emails that appeared to be from me, expressing relief that she would be leaving in gratitude that I wouldn't have to deal with the responsibility of a child. The emails were forgeries, of course, but Olivia had no way of knowing that. Heartbroken and feeling betrayed, she took the money and moved away. She had her mother call me with the story about her death, believing I had already abandoned her and the baby and would be relieved to have a clean break. Emily only knew the truth because she had reconnected with Olivia a few years later, against their mother's wishes. I sat there, stunned, as Emily showed me pictures on her phone of a smiling little girl with my eyes and Olivia's smile. smile. My daughter, alive. Growing up without me because of an elaborate lie orchestrated by my own father, the anger and grief that washed over me in that moment was unlike anything I had ever experienced. 10 years. I had lost 10 years with my daughter. I had mourned them both, carried the guilt of believing I had somehow caused their deaths, while my father knew the truth the entire time. Emily was cautious but sympathetic. She agreed to arrange a meeting with Olivia, but warned me that it wouldn't be easy. Olivia had built a life believing I had wanted nothing to do with her or our child. She had remarried a few years ago to a man who had been raising Lily as his own. Undoing that narrative would be painful for everyone involved. I returned to the hotel in a daze, called the office to say I was extending my trip for personal reasons, and spent the night alternating between rage at my father and anxious anticipation about potentially meeting my daughter for the first time. The next day, I met Olivia at a coffee shop. Seeing her again after all these years was surreal. She looked different, older, more confident, but still unmistakably the woman I had once planned to spend my life with. She didn't bring Lily, which was probably wise given the circumstances. Our conversation was tense at first. I showed her the real emails from that time period, saved in my cloud storage, proving I had never agreed to any arrangement with my father. I told her about receiving the call about her supposed death, about the years I spent grieving, about the memorial bench I visited every year. Gradually, her hostility gave way to shock, then horror, as she realized we had both been victims of my father's manipulation. She had spent years believing I had paid to get rid of her, just as I had spent years believing I had driven her away to her death. When I asked about Lily, Olivia became protective. She explained that Lily had grown up believing her stepfather was her dad, and introducing me into her life would be complicated. She wasn't opposed to it eventually, but she needed time to figure out the best approach. I was desperate to meet my daughter immediately, but I understood Olivia's caution. We agreed to take things slowly for Lily's sake. Before I left the coffee shop, Olivia showed me more pictures of Lily, her first day of school, birthday parties, Halloween costumes, moments I should have been part of. Each image was both a gift and a knife to the heart. I returned home with a plan. First, I needed to confront my father. I didn't tell him what I had discovered immediately. Instead, I invited him to dinner at my house, set up a recording device, legal in our one-party consent state, and asked him about Olivia and the baby. As expected, he was dismissive, repeating his usual line about not dwelling on the past. I pressed harder and he became irritated, asking why I was bringing this up after all these years. That's when I mentioned I had been to the city where Olivia lived, and his entire demeanor changed. He became very still, very cautious. I laid out everything I had learned, the payment, the forged emails, the fabricated death. Instead of denying it, he simply asked how I had found out. When I didn't immediately answer, he began justifying his actions. He had done it for my own good, he said. I wasn't ready for the responsibility. The family business needed my full attention. Olivia wasn't our kind of people anyway. He had made sure they were financially taken care of, so what was the problem? His complete lack of remorse, his certainty that he had the right to make this decision for me, for all of us, was staggering. This was the man who had raised me, who I had trusted, who had held me as I grieved for the family I thought I had lost, and he had been the architect of that loss all along. I told him I was done with him, with the family business, with the entire toxic dynamic that had allowed him to believe this level of control was acceptable. He tried to dismiss me as being emotional, said I would calm down and see reason eventually. I played a portion of the recording back to him, making it clear that I had evidence of his confession, and told him that if he ever tried to interfere in my life again, I would not hesitate to let everyone know exactly what kind of person he really was. The next few months were a whirlwind of change. I resigned from the family business, started my own consulting firm using contacts I had developed over the years, and began making regular trips to see Olivia and work toward meeting Lily. My father attempted to reach out several times, alternating between apologies, justifications, and thinly veiled threats about what I was giving up, but I maintained my distance. Olivia and I developed a careful friendship as we navigated the complicated process of introducing me into Lily's life. Her husband was understandably wary at first, concerned about what my presence would mean for his relationship with Lily, but he proved to be a decent man who ultimately wanted what was best for her. 4 months after discovering the truth, I finally met my daughter. Olivia had prepared her as best she could, explaining that her biological father hadn't abandoned them as she had previously believed, but had been prevented from being part of their lives by circumstances beyond his control. We decided not to share the full truth about my father's manipulation until Lily was older and could better understand such complex betrayal. Meeting Lily was the most profound moment of my life. She was cautious but curious, studying my face as if looking for herself in my features. I had brought a small gift, a bracelet with a Lily charm, and she accepted it with a shy smile. We spent an hour together, talking about her school, her hobbies, her friends. It wasn't enough. It could never be enough to make up for the years lost, but it was a beginning. Over the next several months, our relationship grew slowly but steadily. Weekend visits became more regular. I moved to the same city to be closer, setting up my business there. Lily began spending time at my new home, gradually getting comfortable with having me in her life. As for my father, the rest of the family eventually learned what he had done. My mother was horrified, my siblings disbelieving at first, then disgusted. He maintained that he had acted in my best interest, but no one accepted that justification. The family fractured, with most siding with me, though some thought I was being too harsh and completely cutting him off. I struggled with that decision myself. Despite everything, he was still my father. I had 3 decades of memories with him. Not all bad, not by a long shot. But every time I looked at Lily, every time I thought of the years stolen from us, the choice became clear again. Some betrayals are too fundamental to forgive. It's been 6 months since my last update, and the journey continues to be both rewarding and challenging. Lily and I have been building our relationship steadily, finding our own rhythm and traditions. She stays with me 1 weekend a month now, and we have dinner together every Wednesday. These might seem like small things, but they're precious to me. Ordinary moments of parenthood I never thought I'd experience. Lily has started calling me dad sometimes, though she still refers to her stepfather that way too. The first time she used the word with me, I had to excuse myself to the bathroom because I couldn't hold back tears. She's smart, perceptive, and has begun asking more questions about why I wasn't in her life before. We've stuck to the simplified version of events for now, but I know the day will come when she's old enough to hear the full truth. My relationship with Olivia has evolved into a functional co-parenting partnership. There are still moments of tension, inevitable given our history, but we're united in wanting the best for Lily. Her husband, Mark, has been surprisingly gracious throughout this process. He admitted to me recently that he had initially feared I would try to push him out of Lily's life, but now understands that I respect his role in raising her during the years I couldn't. As for my father, the situation remains complicated. He suffered a minor heart attack 2 months ago, which led to some soul-searching on my part. I visited him in the hospital, the first time I had seen him since our confrontation. He looked older, smaller somehow, connected to machines, and stripped of the authority he had always carried. Our conversation was strained, but less hostile than our previous interaction. He expressed what seemed like genuine regret, though it was difficult to tell how much was influenced by his vulnerable state. He asked to meet Lily, a request I gently but firmly declined. He might be my father, but he is not her grandfather, not until I can be certain he wouldn't hurt her the way he hurt me. My mother and siblings have met Lily, though. That first meeting was held at a park, neutral territory where everyone could interact in a relaxed setting. My mother couldn't stop crying when she saw her granddaughter for the first time, seeing features of both me and our family line in Lily's face. My siblings brought their children, cousins Lily never knew she had, and the kids hit it off immediately, running around and playing as if they'd known each other all their lives. The most unexpected development has been my changing perspective on the lost years. While I still grieve them and hold my father accountable for taking them from us, I've come to recognize that Lily had a stable, loving childhood. Olivia is a wonderful mother, and Mark has been a dedicated father figure. Would Lily have had the same security if Olivia and I had tried to make it work at 22, struggling financially, possibly resenting each other as the pressures of young parenthood took their toll? It's impossible to know, of course, but acknowledging that Lily grew up loved and well cared for has helped me let go of some of the anger I've carried. Not for my father's sake, but for my own, and for Lily's. She doesn't need to feel caught between warring family factions or burdened by adult resentments. My consulting business is doing well, allowing me flexibility to prioritize time with Lily. I bought a house with a bedroom decorated specifically for her, filled with books and art supplies that reflect her interests. Creating physical space for her in my life has been an important part of building our connection. The road ahead still has its challenges. Lily will eventually need to know the full truth. My father's health remains precarious, forcing difficult decisions about forgiveness and boundaries. The complex family dynamics continue to evolve as everyone adjusts to Lily's presence in our lives. But amid these complexities, one thing remains beautifully simple. I have my daughter back, or perhaps more accurately, we have found each other for the first time. And that miracle, because it truly feels like one, makes everything else manageable. Another year has passed, and it seems appropriate to provide a final update on our situation. So much has changed, yet some things remain unresolved. Perhaps they always will be. Lily turned 11 last month. We celebrated with a joint party, Olivia and Mark hosting the daytime festivities with Lily's school friends, Emmy hosting a family dinner in the evening. Watching her blow out her candles, surrounded by people who love her from both sides of her complicated family story, felt like a victory of sorts, a testament to everyone's commitment to putting her well-being first, despite the painful history. Over the past year, Lily has become more curious about the full story of why I wasn't in her life for so long. After consulting with a child psychologist, Olivia and I decided it was time to share more details, carefully framed in age-appropriate language. We explained that my father had made a very bad decision because he thought he knew what was best for everyone, even though he was wrong. We emphasized that none of it was Lily's fault, that she was always wanted and loved, even when I didn't know she existed. Her response surprised me. After asking several thoughtful questions, she looked at me seriously and said, "That means I have another grandfather I've never met." Not angry, not sad, just matter of fact, trying to understand how all the pieces of her family fit together. That question led to perhaps the most difficult decision I've had to make in this journey, whether to allow my father to meet Lily. His health had stabilized since his heart attack, but at 71, he was noticeably frailer than before. After extensive discussions with Olivia, Mark, and the same psychologist who had guided us through telling Lily the truth, I agreed to a supervised meeting. We met at a restaurant, neutral territory once again. My father arrived early, uncharacteristically nervous, clutching unwrapping a wrapped gift. When Lily walked in, he froze, visibly emotional at the sight of the granddaughter he had effectively erased from our lives. The lunch was awkward but civil. Lily was polite but reserved, studying this stranger who was supposedly family. My father was on his best behavior, answering her questions about his life and asking appropriate ones about hers. As we were leaving, he asked if he could speak to me privately for a moment. Lily went ahead with Olivia while he and I stood outside the restaurant. Without preamble, he said, "I was wrong, completely, unforgivably wrong. Seeing her today, I understand now what I took from you." It was the first genuine acknowledgement of responsibility I had heard from him, without qualifications or justifications. I didn't offer forgiveness. I'm not sure I ever will, not completely, but I did agree to allow him limited, supervised contact with Lily going forward, with the explicit understanding that one wrong move, one attempt to manipulate or control, would end the arrangement permanently. My relationship with the rest of my family has largely healed. My mother and siblings have embraced Lily wholeheartedly, making up for lost time with birthday presents, family gatherings, and genuine efforts to know her as a person. Lily, for her part, has enjoyed discovering this extended family she never knew she had, particularly her cousins, with whom she has formed fast friendships. My professional life is stabilized as well. The consulting firm continues to grow, and I've recently brought on 2 partners to help manage the expanding client base. The flexibility I initially sought to spend time with Lily remains a core value of the business, now extended to all employees as a family-friendly policy. As for Olivia and me, we've found an unexpected friendship through co-parenting. The romantic relationship we had as young adults is long gone, and neither of us would want to revisit it. But there's a deep respect between us now, forged through the shared experience of having been manipulated in the joint project of raising our daughter together, along with Mark, who continues to be an important father figure in Lily's life. Last week, something happened that felt like the closing of a circle. I was helping Lily with a school project at my house when she asked if she could see the memorial bench I had dedicated to her and Olivia when I thought they had died. I had mentioned it during our truth-telling conversation, and it had apparently stuck with her. We drove to the park together, and I showed her the simple plaque, 2 O and L, forever loved. She traced the letters with her fingers, quiet for a long moment. Then she looked up at me and asked if we could add something to it. When I asked what she had in mind, she suggested, "Found again." So that's what we're doing. The park administration has approved the modification, and next month, on the anniversary of when I discovered Lily was alive, we'll hold a small ceremony to unveil the updated plaque. It won't erase the decade of loss or completely heal the wounds inflicted by my father's deception, but it feels like an acknowledgement of our journey, the grief, the discovery, the rebuilding, and a commitment to the future we're creating together. If there's anything I've learned through all of this, it's that family isn't just about blood or legal ties. It's about choices. The choice to love, to forgive when possible, to set boundaries when necessary, and above all, to put a child's well-being ahead of adult conflicts and resentments. Our family may not look conventional, with its complex web of biological parents, step-parents, half-siblings, and the shadow of past betrayals, but it is real, and it is ours. And after everything we've been through to find each other, I wouldn't have it any other way.